Bootstrap, we discussed about buttons, and now we will see how we can use alerts. How we can use alerts. Means some components. As I told you already, this is only the design for the alerts. So we can create the alerts. And you have a close button here, close button right side here configured there. And for the close buttons, we have btn close, and we keep the position relative and translate middle X. So, and we have to define top how much, start how much, or end how much. You can configure that. These are all important for keeping the positions, but this is from the new version. In the old versions, just close class is enough actually. You define the close class, that is enough. Now, how we can make this functional, that is important to understand. I will show you that. One more time, I will show you here. See, 1 second. Okay, so in order to use the components with effects, how we can manage with effects. So what you have to import, I will tell you here. Doc type, HTML, head section, we have title. So some alerts. So first, CSS file, link relation is equal to style sheet. Link href is equal to, so from node modules, bootstrap dist css bootstrap.css. Okay. But some bootstrap components, they need interactions also. So interactions are defined by using jQuery attributes. By using jQuery attributes, we define interactions actually. So if you are designing interactions, now what you have to do is interactions requires jQuery library. So you have to link the jQuery scripts. Link tag is used for CSS. To link JavaScript files, jQuery files, we have to use script. Script source is equal to, and it is present in node modules. First, you have to link jQuery. In jQuery folder, dist, in that jQuery.js. This file is required. So already I told you, you have to install jQuery first. And jQuery is not required in every Bootstrap design. But some Bootstrap components depend on jQuery for interactions. So without that, you cannot handle. So jQuery is mandatory. Okay. After jQuery, you have to put another script. We have node modules, Bootstrap, dist, in that JS. In that we have Bootstrap bundle.js. Bootstrap bundle.js, it contains all Bootstrap related jQuery effects. So this one file is enough. Actually, we have separate files, like for alerts, alert.js. So for suppose we are using carousel.js, like that it will be. So like model.js, like that. We don't want individually adding so many files. So one Bootstrap bundle.js will have all of these. So link that bootstrap bundle.js. Link that bootstrap bundle. Order is also important. Remember this point. So first you have to link jQuery.js. jQuery.js. Second, after that, you have to include bootstrap bundle.js. If you miss the order, it will not work. That means suppose you kept this bootstrap bundle above jQuery, it will not work. Order is also important. Okay. So we defined it. So we configured that. So to perfectly use Bootstrap with interactions, these three files are required. So we need CSS of Bootstrap and jQuery.js and Bootstrap bundle.js. Now you can design here. I am creating the body. In that I will put class as container fluid. And here we are defining a heading alerts. Just I will put a div and put a class as alert and alert danger effects, alert dismissible if you want it closable. Inside this we have a heading, so delete record. And here we will put a class. For headings we have alert heading, and we have a paragraph. So record will record deleted successfully. That message something. So, and here we have some anchor. So href is equal to hash and help. And here we can use a class alert link. Now you can see it is going to display in this way. It is going to display in this way. Now here I want to add a close button. Then I am keeping here inside this div. I will put a button. And for button, I will give the class as btn and btn close. Button close. And you can see close button automatically comes right side. That's good. That's enough. You don't need to give options like left margin, right margin also. You just add these two. So btn and btn close. It will behave like a close button. Okay, that's enough. Wherever you see right side corner, that close button will come. So you just apply these two options, btn and btn close. Earlier we have to use only close, but now we have to use btn close for the options. Okay, now on that button close, it should close. So then we have to use an option here called an attribute, jQuery attribute called data -dismiss. Data -dismiss. It is used to close. Dismiss is for closing. Data is to access the jQuery attributes. Through the jQuery attributes, you can add interactions. Data dismiss is close. So data dismiss, which one to dismiss? We have to dismiss alert. That means the alert will dismiss. It will affect for this alert, current alert. That means here, when I click on this close button, so it should close that. So, but important here is data dismiss is this is the alert to close. But how to manage the close options, closing and open options? We need a little bit of more jQuery also. So jQuery to configure and define some more options are required. Actually, on the button click, on click, that means when it is clicked, it should handle that functionality. So if it has to handle the functionality, then how we need to manage that? So technically, the close button that you have designed, so we have to use data dismiss. But in the latest version, they have changed little bit. That means jQuery functionalities, they have changed a little bit. So the attributes which are used to handle the functionality, they have defined the attribute as data BS dismiss. Earlier, we used to use just data dismiss, and it should dismiss alert. Now, in the latest version, we have to use the attribute data, so BS dismiss. That is the latest version. So this is used for closing the alerts. Earlier, we use only data dismiss. So in 4 version, up to the 4 version, we use that. So here data dismiss, BS dismiss, it will close it. Again, how to open? For that, you have to write JavaScript, jQuery, you have to write to open. Currently, to open on page load. And when I click on close, then it will close. So now the latest options. So this is, let me give you difference also, because the notes I given you, it contains both 4 and 5. Already 4 related notes is given to you. 5 related notes I am giving. So 5 related changes I am giving. So here alerts in Bootstrap. So here one point I will give here, classes are same as Bootstrap 4.6. Only JavaScript attribute we have to use to close. JavaScript only 2 options. JavaScript attribute to close is data BS dismiss. Is data BS dismiss. In old version, it is, so in old versions, it is data hyphen dismiss, simple data dismiss. In the new version, it is that. Another option is close button is designed by using this syntax. In button, class is equal to btn and btn close. So in old version it was, so in 4.6, so it is, so button, and we have the class is equal to close. That's it. But in the new version, we have to define that btn and btn close. That's the option we have to define. And so to close alerts, you can use fade effect. You can use fade effect. That means, actually, observe carefully. I will give complete program also. Observe carefully here. Now I will run this and I click on close button, and you can see that it is closing immediately. Just in a blink, it will close. I will keep this. You see alert in the alert, we will put a class called fade. Fade is one class. So what is the speciality of this fade class is, so when you click on that, and fade class means it will fade with effect. And by default, you see it is hidden. It is not showing on page load. We have to add show class, that is to show by default. You can see it will show by default. I click on close, it will fade out. Slowly it will close. We can use that effect. If I give fade, then what happens is it will hide it. For that, we need to use show. Then when you close, it will slowly close. We can control different timings also. More slowly closing, dissolving, like that. So, but this is basically the concept of how we can use an alert. How you can use an alert. How to open the alerts, that we will learn in later stage. But for that, we have to learn JavaScript actually. But this is enough. So how we can handle and how we can configure and define. So many times people ask like, can I change the background colors? You can change. Ready-made colors are there, or I told you now, you can customize. You can write alert and put a different background color and use it. But what is the point about alert is, alert will occupy some space on your page, screen space. So when you close that alert, suppose you see some paragraphs also there. Some paragraph information is also there. Let me copy some paragraphs information. Yeah. Some paragraphs of information we will see. So I will copy that paragraph here. Okay. So some paragraphs of information is present here. And you see the paragraphs are there. When I click on this close button, that means alert will close, and you see the paragraphs are adjusted. Paragraphs are adjusted. That means it will fit accordingly automatically. I open that, it will be like this. Close, it will adjust that. All the contents will adjust. Sometimes what happens is we don't want like that, adjusting the height width, adjusting the content to top, shifting them to top. We can simply, what you can do is we can put a pop-up. What is alert? Alert is embedded into the page. It is embedded. However, you can close it, but it is embedded into the page. It is a part of page. When alert comes, it will shift the other contents down. It shifts the other contents down. So we have to use some other options so that these alignments are not disturbed. Actually, this is not disturbing the alignment, just shifting the content above and down. Above and down, it is shifting the content. So now sometimes, suppose you are creating a login screen, registration form, such things. Then generally what we want is, we want a pop-up to open. We want a pop-up to open. And in the pop-up, it should display, just like observe here. So now the concept is simple, like suppose you see some website, nareshit.com. So yeah. So when you open this website, you can see in nareshit.com. So here a chart option is there here. This chart option, when I click the chart now button, automatically a pop-up will come here. And you can hide it or you can close it. It will open a pop-up where you can fill up the form. This is not alert. That is not alert. Alert is embedded into the page, but pop-up will come over the top of others. This is not like pop-up. It is just displaying embedded into it. There itself in the page. Then this is a general example for that. So I will copy it and I will paste an example for this. So this is an example for alerts. Right. So let me paste this alert in Bootstrap. Okay, but this is the alert in Bootstrap 5, right? Some changes are there. Now, if you want some more options to handle, that means for like pop-up to come and handle through the pop-up, then we can use, instead of alert, we can use model in Bootstrap. So model we can use. Model is similar to alert, but it is over the content. It pops up. It pops up and it will display. So generally, how we need to configure the models, how you define the models. Generally, model is defined by using some attributes, which are very simple actually. Generally, what you have to do is, for designing model, you need the classes model, you need model dialog, we need model content. In that we have model header and we have model body. So we have model body and we have model footer. These are the sections. Header, body, footer sections will be there. And if you want to manage the model and how we can open the model, actually we have to use a reference for the model and design. This is enough actually. These are the attributes that are used for designing the model. Of course, in the model, again, if you have titles, if you have normal text, then what you can do is you can use the option like model title, model text like that. That means you can simply define as, so model title, that is for headings. We can use headings. And when you are displaying model dialog, there are several alignments for model dialog. We can use model dialog scrollable, and we can say model dialog centered. That means you can launch that dialog box centered. Keep the dialog box centered. So we can keep scrollable. These options are vertically center, horizontal center, it will contain. Now, generally, so these are the basic things used for that. How we have to apply them and how we can handle them. Let's see. And very important from hereafter, for interactions, if you are dealing with interactions, then you need these two files mandatory. So let's see what model can do. So I will copy this head section because that head section is same everywhere. I will go into model.html. So here model, everything same. Few changes are there. Doc type HTML, head, a head section I will paste. I will change this to models. So model. And link scripts all are same. In the body section, so we have class container fluid. And here I will keep a div. So in that we will keep a button. So class as btn and btn some primary. And here we will put so class as margin top as 3. And for this button, I will give login. So you have a simple design, and we have a simple login button here. So let's launch this model. Not responding. Let's check what is okay. This is there, login. Now, when I click on this login button, a login pop-up should come on the screen. So a pop-up should display on the screen. So, or we can put so many things inside it. For example, if I say chart, I write here chart. And so suppose we are using chart, and this is the chart. We can keep anywhere this content and display the content anywhere here. For example, I will give this as margin top. So we can say position. I will keep this position as fixed. Position as fixed. Then we will define as top 100, top 100, and we are giving end 100. So end 0 or end 0. So then we are configuring like this, just appearance. You can change the appearance how you want. That means start 100, start 100. Okay. And we have this top 100 removed. So x-axis position also we will define there, right? That means we will use one more option is position is fixed, and we will keep on x-axis content here. Justify, not justify content, translate middle X. You see right side corner it is there. Okay, because it is fixed position and our container is fluid container. Because of that fluid container, it will have that appearance. Okay, fine. Now I can keep here start as suppose 50M, right? That will keep somewhere here. Okay. Now anywhere you can keep at the bottom or top wherever you want here. Suppose I say top as 100. Top as 100, we are defining that it will get at the bottom actually, bottom. So currently already we are giving as a start. So then we don't need to define the top. Top, it will come here center. So as of now, I kept that here. Okay. Now what we have to do is when user clicks on that chart, a pop-up should come. You can keep anywhere. Then a pop-up should come and it should display there. Then how you manage that? So how you handle that, the positions, how you configure it. So now what we have to do is below this, I will create a div, and this div will have a class called model. Same like alert model, but model has several levels. In a page, there can be several models. There can be several alerts. That means one for chatting, one for login, one for register. In that case, it should have an ID. We will give the ID as chart. Chart is the ID. Chart, okay. Now in the model, we have to design a div. Model contains model dialog. Model dialog. And if you want it centered, then you can give model dialog centered. Okay. Now we can inside model dialog, we have to add a class model content. Inside the model content, this order is important. Model, in that model dialog, in that model content. In the model content, you need so model header. Header is header section. In the header section, I will keep a heading chart with so customer care. Okay, like this, chart with customer care. and I will put a class as some model title. So that is model title. Okay. Then in the div, so we have another div class model body. Model body. In the model body, we will design a form. I will create a data list with a data term. Suppose I said your mobile and data definition input type is equal to text. Later we will design these controls also effectively. Another we have data term, suppose so your email and data definition input type is equal to email. And we are designing another data term, your comments, and here I will put a text area. So it will have some rows is equal to some 4 or 4 rows, calls equal to some 30, like this. This is all designed inside model body. After the model body is finished, we have to create a class called model footer. In the model footer, we will keep one button. So this is class as btn and btn primary. Here we will say post message, post comment. So and so here we will put another button. So class as btn and btn danger, and we will keep it as cancel. This option is there. This is all designed inside the model. And model is present in the below that button. We have written that. So you can see model will not be displayed. By default, model is hidden. It will not be displayed anywhere on the screen. When I click on this chart button, that model should come. Then what we have to do is same again. So all model classes are same as 4.6 version. So data attributes changed to, we have two attributes like this. We have data hyphen bs hyphen toggle and data hyphen bs hyphen target and data hyphen bs hyphen dismiss. These three are used. What is toggle, what is target, and what is dismiss? These points I will tell. Dismiss already you have seen. Data toggle, data target. So is nothing but, now when this model should open, you have to tell. On the chart button click, it should open. Then chart button uses an attribute data bs target is equal to which model. The model have an ID. We have to tell the model ID. The model ID is chart. That means we have to access the ID with hash chart. So the target is chart and data hyphen bs hyphen toggle is model. So we have to toggle the model. Toggle means on and off. What should on and off? Model should on and off. So model should on and off. Which model should on and off? That you have to define with target. Which component to on? That is model. That is defined with toggle. And there can be so many models in the page. Which model you want? So chart model, that you have to define with target. These two are very important. Now you can see here when I click on this chart, so that pop-up should display. And one more important option is this pop-up should display. And for that, we have to add an attribute to display and manage the models. Just like alert I showed you, Generally, model requires to display an option fade. So that means we have to fade the models and display the models. That means generally what we have to do is we need to use toggle and target, and we need to define here the option as this model should fade. This model should fade. And generally fade and show options are important to display. And here we are giving the fade option, but still it is not there. Once check, is there any error? Some error is there. So backdrop root element is missing. Some backdrop root element is missing. So in the model dialog, everything is fine. Let's see what backdrop is missing. So is working fine. One more option. These are enough actually. So once we will check the backdrop option, root element is missing. It is provided as null. This is a new backdrop option that is nothing but generally if anywhere this backdrop option is asked for you, that means the concept of backdrop is nothing but generally backdrop is to tell that at z index where it should be. So z index where it should be. That means generally we call that as tab index actually. We call as tab index. So we need to define here. So for the model, we are adding the attribute. So tab index -1. So that means it will be hidden state actually. Index is hidden state. And still there is a problem. Still the backdrop option have a problem. Once I will check. Because these attributes are enough in this means on button click some problem is there. Let's check. So this is button target. So and input is okay, and it is targeting towards the model. Toggle is model, and the target is this. Fine. That functionality is okay. Once we check, is there any issue in the submitting also? It's not required. On click only problem is there. Let me check one more time. In toggle, where you mentioned toggle data toggle. Data toggle is model only, right? That's not a problem. Now model doesn't require show option, right? Model doesn't require show option. Even it doesn't require the fade option also. It should work. So some backdrop option is missing for that. I will use that attribute for the models here as because this is new version. So I will add one more attribute here. So for the model, we will use data BS So backdrop is mandatory for this. As a static, I will give backdrop as static. That is one backdrop option newly added actually. So check again, the same, cannot show. For show by default will display. You don't need that show. So backdrop undefined. So this backdrop option is defined for the model. So BS target. Let me check that. This is very recent version here. This is very recent version, means just 2-3 version requires BS only. You don't imagine anything newly, because already by default these will work. There is no problem. Yeah, only change is some new feature is missing here, because see what we designed is enough. Some new option is missing somewhere. I will check that once. Because suppose I will show you one simple option like I will just show you. I will check this in the new version what modification is. For example, this is C. This is general model. That means we don't need all those backdrops and all. I will check here once. Where is the Bootstrap example? We have a model. Yeah. So we need to just design only these options. You see, we have an option in the old version, means the previous version, we have to just use model fade and ID, and then we have to just use data toggle and data target. That's it. BS and all these not required. And the model is quite simple. Model have an ID, model dialog, content, headers. That's it. You don't need to do anything else other than that. So these options are enough. So they will open the model and display. So you can see login will get you the login screen, cancel, and register will get you the register form. This is model. So this is the general option. In the latest, some element type is missing here. I will check. Some backdrop option have a problem. Root element is missing. It is showing that. That means in old version, whatever you saw is same, right? This is, let's check this. Data BS toggle target. Attribute order dependency should not be an issue. Huh? Attributes order dependency is not there. Already we know that, huh? But still I am checking that. BS toggle, BS target. So somewhere in the buttons, we have a problem. So let me check. So ID. Model dialogues are there, right? Centered, we can configure it. Scrollable. Script, okay, fine. Let me create this. Simply, I will create one option because somewhere these options are having an issue. This may be the problem. I will check that. The problem is one issue here is cannot show the properties. Let's design one. I will create one small point, means from the simple view we will create. First we will check it is working or not. So we will put a button. So class btn and btn primary and say chart. Okay, we will put a simple model and we will keep an ID as chart. Okay, in that we need a class model first dialog. We have to create model dialog. In the model dialog, we should have model content. In the model content, we should have the class, so model header. Okay, in the model header, we can keep a heading chart with customer care. Okay, care and class as some model title. In that we have a div, so the class as model body. In that I will just temporarily put a simple option data list. So data term, so your name and text box. Input type is equal to text. Let's keep it simple. First div, and in the class we have model footer. In that we have a button. So, and say cancel like this, and class btn and btn danger. Okay, and this is the model, and on this button click it should work. So on the button click we need to define as so data bs toggle, data bs toggle, and it should toggle model. Okay, and data bs, so target is equal to hash chart, that is the id. So which one you want to access, that is the id we have to define, and this is the model option defined. And let's run this and see the same issue here. So fade. Okay, so same backdrop null. Okay, I will do one thing. I will check today what change happened here. So what is the problem in that, why it is backdrop? So tab index -1 I given here. Still the backdrop issue not solved. Here we will keep the backdrop for that. Backdrop is not required actually, tab index should work. Everything is normal. Let's see some other option is working fine or not. So those are all new option. This is BS is new option, right? And backdrop is not a mandatory one. So this is not a mandatory one. It is an optional one only. Backdrop is optional. Without configuring the backdrop also, it should work actually. So I will do one thing then. I will check once what is the problem one more time. I will see what change they made in the very latest version, and then I will let you know tomorrow. Okay, now Monday. I will check what the problem is there in this, because this is just 2-3 days before released version, right? So all those are not required, Bashir, right? All those are not required. This should work. This is enough actually. So somewhere the script issues are there. That means some hierarchical script issues are there. I will check once. I will check that, because this is very recently released version. Some attributes, dependencies issues will come. So dependency issues, that means some library which is related to that dependency may be missing. I will check that what change they made in the latest one, because in the old version, so if you are using 4.6, this is enough. Data toggle, data target, that's enough. It will work. I will check once. So then I will see what are the dependencies missing, what are the problems there, and I will let you know on Monday. Okay, Monday we will continue then, right? Because this is just 2-3 days before released version, so we need to check some issues may be there. So the dependencies we may be missing somewhere. We will check that. In old version, you don't need to worry about this. Just it will work. Here some dependency is missing. I will check that. Okay, now tomorrow, Monday we will continue with that. Right? Yeah.